Hi, my name is Jay Oza. I want to ask you this question. How do you make a business decision today? One of the things that we have today that we probably didn't have to deal with in the past is data. We have lots of data. We capture lots of data and we use this data, analyze it to make a decision. So the question is, how do you make a decision? Now, you could say, forget the data. I make it based on my gut. A lot of people do that, unfortunately, and they're not that accurate. You may say, you know, I will call in an expert to make a decision. And that's good. That's definitely better than going with your gut. But experts are also proven to be wrong quite often. So you say, okay, I'm going to model the problem and then make a decision. Now you're getting much closer to the right answer. But my question to you then would be, which model are you going to use? There are lots of models out there. You're going to have to make that decision, whether you're going to pick the right model for the specific problem that you're dealing with. That decision is all going to be up to you. So how are you going to do it? Modeling has been proven to be the best way to solve complex problems that we deal with today. And one of the TED Talks that I listened to was given by a famous modeler, Bruce DeMesquita. And he had this quote. He said, "What percent of time is the model right, even when the experts are wrong?" Unquote. And the answer is 90%. 90%. This was a study from CIA that he's quoting from. And they know about data and making decisions. In this talk, I'm going to give it in 3 parts. The first part, we're going to simplify it down to proverbs, opposite proverbs that we have often deal with to make a decision. Then look at 2 models that are opposites, and how do you pick one over the other? And then I will look at Amazon, a company that I think probably used these 2 models to become a very successful company. Okay, so let's start with Proverbs. I'm assuming most of you are out of college and have been working for a few years and are now taking this course, Introduction to Public Speaking. And let's say before taking the course, just for assumption's sake, you went and asked 2 of your best friends whether you should take this course. And you go to them and saying to friend A, I'm thinking of taking this course called Introduction to Public Speaking, but I'm having some doubts because I've been out of college for several years now. And also, I don't know, I may be too old to learn. And your friend A says, you're never too old to learn. He just hit you with a proverb. And you're like, yeah, I am definitely not too old to learn. Then you go to your friend B and say the same thing. What do you think? And he tells you, I got to be honest with you. But as they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Ooh, that hurts. What do? You have to make a decision. They're both proverbs. They've been passed down ages. There's some truth in both of them. But the decision is going to be up to you. Well, in my case, I'm in my early 50s. I said, I'm definitely not too old to learn. And I think this course can help me both personally and professionally. So I'm going to take this course. And I am. Let's get to the second part of this talk, which is, okay, that's a proverb. You have to make the decision. Well, The situation isn't any better when you get to the models. And the two of the models that I want to look at are Six Sigma and Fisher's fundamental theorem. Okay, so Six Sigma is essentially trying to reduce errors, whether it's the process that you're using to build a product or to provide a service. We're not going to go into any math here. So that means like airplanes taking off and landing, they have to follow a Six Sigma process. So an event when a plane crashes, it's a rare event, hardly ever happens. Similarly, when you get a surgery, back surgery or whatever, you better hope the hospital has a Six Sigma process so the outcome is good automatically, pretty much. Similarly, telephony, that's a Six Sigma process where the downtime is such a rare event. Okay, so that's Six Sigma, where you are dealing with a process that makes the product nearly, or a service nearly perfect. On the opposite end, you have something called Fisher's fundamental theorem. Now, this comes from ecology, where there are lots of variation that leads to a faster rate of adaptation. So this gets applied to things in business, such as when things are constantly changing. Let's say you have a business and the markets are changing. You're getting markets in China, India, Brazil, all over the place. How do you deal with that? That's a lot of changes taking place. Six Sigma is not going to help there. Or you have to innovate as the technology is changing. Six Sigma is not going to help there. That's Fisher's fundamental theorem, where you're going to have to adapt quickly. Otherwise, you're not going to capture the market, and you may never capture the market. So you have to decide here what problem you're really dealing with. Are you dealing with the problem where everything is pretty much understood, it's fixed, like a surgical process? Then you have to make it better. Then the Six Sigma would be the right model to use. But what if it's something where things are changing constantly, where new technology is coming up? At this point, you have to use the Fisher's fundamental theorem to adapt quickly. Otherwise, you may be out of business. So now let's go to the third part of this talk and look at a company that had to deal with this, Amazon. So let's go back mid to late 90s when internet just became big. Amazon saw an opportunity, saying things are changing here. People suddenly have access to internet. They do not need to go to their local bookstore to purchase books. They can easily order it over the web on their web store and get the book delivered in a few days. That's what got them into this business. Now, fast forward to today. That part of the business, the web store, is a Six Sigma. People are still going to buy books, whether it's a hard copy or an electronic copy, ebook. They're still purchasing books. What Amazon has done there is created a Six Sigma process where you rarely ever have a bad experience. It's a rare event. I've been ordering from Amazon for a number of years, and I can't remember any time where I've had a bad experience where a book didn't get delivered or anything. And even when that happened, I was able to return it immediately without any questions asked. So I believe that part of the business, they made it better and better, and I believe it's a Six Sigma process that they have created there. But then let's take a look at another side of a business that Amazon has developed. And they have to develop it because they want to grow. They just can't rely on this one part of the business, otherwise the company cannot grow. So they saw an opportunity a few years ago as computing technology was changing, computers were getting faster, smaller, miniaturization taking place. The storage devices were getting cheaper, and the networks were getting faster and ubiquitous. And also people suddenly had access with their mobile technology. So they said that people in the future do not need to purchase software. They can essentially access it over the cloud, so-called, and directly use it on their server, so-called cloud computing. So they developed this service called Amazon Web Services. And we'll find out in their next earning how large this business is. But according to all analyst indication, they are the market leader in this business. So this is an example of Fisher's fundamental theorem to capture a new market where things are constantly changing. Computing, networking, storage, mobile, all of it is constantly changing that allows them to adapt to this new business. So as you can see, here's a company that uses both models, Six Sigma for their existing business and Fisher's fundamental theorem for the new business that they want to capture. So to close this out, I started with a simple question. How do you make a business decision? You're going to be asked that question quite a lot. And you have to know the model, the right model that is applicable to the problem that you're dealing with. And the reason why models work is that things are getting extremely complex. We have so much data, things are changing so quickly that you can't just leave it to your gut or even experts to make a decision. You need to make that decision. And the best way to make that decision is learning about models and picking the right models. I didn't know that much about this till I took this course from Coursera called Model Thinking, taught by Professor Scott Page from University of Michigan. And it opened my eyes. And I am now more interested in knowing about this field because I think it will make you a better thinker. Thank you.